Sup everyone, welcome back for another chilled episode of Stevie's Weekly Boom. It's the time of the week where I get to chill out, speak about things I enjoy, and get some things off my chest. All positive of course, until a little rant at the end about the BBC. But for the most, it's all positive. Because that's the way it should be, that's what the world needs. We need a bit of positivity, so hopefully we can have a little 25 minutes, half an hour of me here speaking. We can all chill out together. If you've got any comments on what you hear, if you're wanting to comment while you're listening, feel free, you can go on. If I'm online, I will comment back. Do not worry about that. I love interacting with people, which you can do by leaving a comment below. Or you can send me a tweet at StevieBoom on Twitter. Not a problem at all. Get in touch. That's what the internet's for. That's what it's all for. You can get in touch, speak to us, give us some feedback, and we can talk about some stuff. So, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, we are going to talk, of course, about some facts from Dragonball Super, what we've learned from Dragonball Super 51, and the predictions for next week's episode, which will be Dragonball Super 52. Sorry, tripping over my words. We will be talking about Brock Lesnar and his UFC comeback. And I will also be talking about the BBC and just the way they're reporting things. This is a topic that won't really affect much people outside of the UK, but for those in the UK, it does affect us because it's a crazy time at the moment. And the BBC, I don't feel are helping, but that is a topic I'm going to get into at the end of the show. Today, the game on screen is Dragon Ball Xenoverse. I am playing this on my Xbox 360. I'm still trying to contemplate what I need to upgrade to. I'm still weighing up the cons and pros of Xbox 4 or PlayStation 1. So this is a decision that I'm finding really hard to make. Because on one hand, I've got my Xbox 360. I've got loads of games. And because I've had Xbox Live Gold forever, I've got a ton of Xbox One games ready and waiting to go as soon as I get the console. But on the other hand, everyone tells me that the PlayStation 4 is just a better console. And a lot of the people that are going to be playing Dragon Ball Xenoverse, the Dragon Ball Xenoverse community, seem to be more geared around PlayStation 4 and PC games as opposed to Xbox One. And again, that's something that pushes me away from Xbox and draws me towards PlayStation because I want to be a part of the communities. I don't want to be that guy that picked the wrong console and's got to play on his own. I want to be in the thick of it, in the online stuff, everything. It's something I'm still trying to deliberate. I can't make my mind up. It's like, it's one of the craziest decisions ever. I don't understand why it's so difficult for me. But yeah. As I said last week, leave a comment below. PlayStation 4 or Xbox One? Which one should I get? I don't know. I mean, obviously I could get a PC, but I just feel that I need to get one of the consoles. So I'm in the console systems, I can play against people on consoles, and I can be part of the communities that are based around the consoles. So that's a decision that I need to make. But that's a decision for another day, because we are going to talk about Dragon Ball Super 51 and go over what we have learned from this week's episode. Now before we go into this and the Brock Lesnar segment, I'm just going to say here, spoiler warning, whoop whoop, spoiler. If you don't want Dragon Ball Super 51 or last night's fight with Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt to be spoiled, then I would go and watch them now and come back and listen to the podcast, and then you can tell me what you think. For all of us that have watched Dragon Ball Super 51 and Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt, let's get into this. So, Dragon Ball Super 51. Of course, I don't review the shows, but I'll briefly go over what happened, because we can't really do the facts without briefly going over what happened. So, for the most, it was a filler episode. There wasn't a lot of stuff happened in this episode, and there's really not a lot of facts that we can take from this episode, although, as with most weeks, by Wednesday, and by the time I've watched it about 10 times, I will have more facts, because this always happens. But in my first 3 or 4 viewings, I've not managed to pick anything really solid from this week's episode. It's all mainly filler. Black has went back to the future, so he's not a threat at the moment. He's in the future where he's on his own. Everyone else is just like in a state of flux. They've got nothing really to do, so Goku's like, right, I'm off the train. Vegeta goes into his gravity chamber. He is annoyed. He wants to be the one that takes down Black, because obviously he knows that Black has killed Bulma in the future, and that annoys him, and he knows that he gave Trunks a hard time. So I think Vegeta's taking this quite personally, and he's wanting to get to it. That was really it for it. There wasn't a whole lot. We'll get into the facts in a little second. One interesting bit from this week's episodes, and I'm going to put pictures on screen here, something I don't normally do, but there's going to be pictures on just now, is they have redone the segment where Gohan, Trunks and Bulma find Cell's time machine. They have redone it with Dragon Ball Super animation, which, in all honesty, is nowhere near as good as the original. They should have just used the original clip, I think. So, the only reason they must have not used it is they must have retconned some little part from that clip. So, I have watched the clip and I have watched the original episode today, obviously to get the pictures for you. But I've not managed to see any real differences yet. But as I'm saying, I've still got to watch a good bit of it to find out what happens. But that was interesting. It was interesting to see them do the same segment from Dragon Ball Z in Dragon Ball Super. And one thing I'm getting from this storyline is the time machines. I mean, obviously the time machines are the time machines. They're a big part in the story because they can travel in time. But I think the time machines are a much, much, much bigger part of the story. It all reminds me on an episode of Doctor Who. The Reapers are flying dragon-like beings, and their purpose in the universe was to destroy anything that messed with the space-time continuum. And it's taken from the episode Father's Day from New Doctor Who. I forget the episode number off the top of my head. The name of the episode's Father's Day, but in short, there's these enemies called Reapers. What the Reapers do is they seek out tears in the space-time continuum, and the way they fix them is by destroying everything. Now, this is exactly what Goku Black is doing. He has suck out a rip in the space-time continuum, which is caused by the time machine. He has went to the point and he is destroying everything. Now, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before in previous episodes or I've made the reference to the Doctor Who episode, but it's something I've noticed from the very start of this this saga that we're watching in Dragon Ball Super. And I think it's all going to come round that Goku Black is kind of like a Reaper. I mean, he is being controlled by someone else. I think there's no doubt to that. But it does seem that he is some sort of Reaper seeking out rips in space-time and destroying everything linked to them. Fact time. So, what have we learned from this episode, as the start of this segment was called? We have learned that Black, now that he has fought Goku, he has absorbed Goku's powers. He unleashes a barrage of ki blasts in the future where there's no one that he can kill. They're already killed. He starts blowing stuff up and we get some epic, proper Dragon Ball Z style explosions. I am talking nuclear explosions in the middle of derelict cities. Black tells people that he can feel it now, and he can feel that the more he fights Goku, the more he is learning how to control Goku, the body he is in, which is Goku's body. This is all reminiscent of when Ginyu took Goku's body, of course. Ginyu took Goku's body, he seen the power level and was like, haha, that power level's amazing, I need that body. He took the body and then he couldn't use it. The power level was not accessible to him because he did not know how to use that body. With Black, it seems the same, although he is learning how to use Goku's body, which is a scary concept because Black is already really powerful. We've already seen that he's really, really, really powerful. But the more he fights Goku, the more he is learning how to use Goku, the Goku body, the more power he is going to have in that body. I mean, is he going to be stronger than Goku? Is he going to be on par? Is he leveling himself up to the power of a Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, just by fighting Goku? I mean, that's something I feel we're going to find out in the coming weeks. But in short, he is stronger now. He fought Goku and it made him stronger. What else have we learned? In the end segment, after the title credits, we see that Whis, Beerus and Goku are going to Universe 10 to investigate something. Now, throughout the episode, we see Whis and Beerus comment on him. Whis straight up says to Beerus, look, what do we think this is? Beerus is not sure, but I think they know what it is. And this is obviously why they've got to go to Universe 10. So I think we're going to see some Universe 10 action. I mean, so far we've seen 6 and 7. We've never seen 10. So a new universe we're going to see. This is exciting stuff. So that's 3 universes, 4 timelines. This is going to get... I feel this is going to get really complicated really fast. Another thing we learned. In Trunks' flashback, Black alludes to being under the control of a god. He says that he does the work of gods. He destroys things in the name of God to keep the universe... I think the word was beautiful. That is a very, very, very interesting statement. Because that tells us that he's either a god of destruction from the future, or he is being controlled by someone that is a god. And I mean, that ties into, I think, the little clip from the end of the show when they're going to Universe 10. Why would they be going to Universe 10? Could it be that Goku Black is actually a rogue god of destruction and he has escaped Universe 10 and he is away doing other things thanks to the help of like an evil Kai or something? Next week we're going to find out, I guess. And next week, of course, we're going to find out who the Green Kai is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was what I have learned, or what we have learned, from episode 51 of Dragon Ball Super. As I said, it wasn't a lot, but of course it takes up a bit of time. But can't be helped, but it's time for the important bits. It's time for Stevie's Dragon Ball Z episode 52 predictions. So, prediction 1, I am still holding out that Black is going to turn Super Saiyan at some point. It is going to happen. It maybe won't happen in 52, so I'm probably out on a limb on this one. But it's going to happen, possibly after he fights Goku again. But this is something we're not going to know, but I'm holding that one. I'm just going to keep that prediction there until it happens, because it is going to happen. I am sure of it. Prediction number 2, now this is a super obvious one for reasons I've just said. We're going to fight Beerus, Whis and Goku are going to go to Universe 10. It's a bit of a prediction, but we pretty much know it's going to happen. Prediction 3, we are going to find out that the Green Kai we have been seeing in the credit sequence is actually the Supreme Kai of Universe 10. And that's going to be who he is, and he is going to be able to tell us who or what is in control of Goku Black. So that is our Dragon Ball Super segment done and out of the way. We are moving swiftly along to, whilst I jiggle my notes about, UFC 200. Now, I'm not going to talk about the whole event, because the event's massive, and to be brutally honest, I am not a massive UFC fan anymore. I used to follow it religiously back when it was at UFC 100. Now it's at 200, I don't follow it as religiously, but the fact that Brock Lesnar was fighting drew me in, because I am a massive wrestling fan. So to see Brock Lesnar in the octagon one more time. Sorry, that's my best Paul Heyman impression. I can probably do better, but to see Brock in the octagon again was cool. I won't lie, in the lead up to the match, I watched a few Mark Hunt matches. He was ranked 8th in the world before going into this. Brock is coming back after over 4 years out, after the diverticulitis surgery with a large bit of his colon removed, which it's something my mother actually has. She's had the same surgery, so I know how serious that actually is and how dangerous it can be. So for him to come back from something like that alone is awesome. I mean, there was people saying and pointing out that he was over that when he fought Kane, but it takes people a long time to get over that sort of impact of the body. A lot longer than what Brock would have needed to fight Cain Velasquez, although Kane is a monster. Well, that's for another show. it was just great to see Brock Lesnar back in the UFC and in the octagon, but I did think that Mark was going to drop him. I had a funny feeling that Mark was going to get one of those walk-away knockouts out of the bag, and we were going to be left holding our heads, and it was going to be a bad night for all his wrestling fans, because everyone would be like, ha! See? All you fake wrestling fans, your fake wrestler got beat. Because that's what happens, and there's a lot of ignorance comes towards wrestling fans from people that are in UFC in regard to people like Brock Lesnar, and it'll know that happened in CM Punk eventually, if he ever does fight. But it was just really good. The match, I mean, before the match I was speaking to a friend, my prediction of the match was this. It was like, I think Mark Hunt's going to drop him with a knockout. If he can't hit him and Brock takes him down, Brock will win. And that is essentially what happened. The first round, there was just a lot of people finding their spaces. Brock got a few hits in. Mark Hunt didn't really get anything in. Brock managed to get a few takedowns in, showing that if Brock wants to take you down, he's going to take you down. He's showing that off again. The size of him is ridiculous. He weighed in at 265 pounds. By match time, I would imagine he'd had about 10 pounds of steak and he'd put it all back on. So who knows how big he was for the fight. But he was managing to just double leg takedown Hunt with no problem. Hunt's got really good defence in that sort of area as well, but it wasn't really working for him in this. Second round came. Second round for the most was just boring. Nothing happened. They were just pacing around. Then the third round happened. And it seemed like Brock Lesnar found his footing. Brock Lesnar remembered what it was like to be in the octagon, and Brock Lesnar started doing what we know and love him to do in his previous UFC escapades even, which was double leg takedown, get them on the ground, then punch their head until they stop. And if they start covering their head, punch the midsection. Although there was at one point he threw a knee in, and it looked so sore, I doubled over. I was like, geez, that looked bad. But yeah, the third round, Brock Lesnar showed his skills off, showed his wrestling skill and his ability to hold someone on the ground and just beat the living crap out of them. It was essentially a whole round of Brock on the ground, just non-stop, punching him in the head. And as I said, whenever he went to block his head and he lifted his arm up, he would just start hitting him in the midsection, so he put his arm down, then he would start punching him in the head. And it basically went like that until the buzzer went, the round finished, the match ended. Unanimous decision, Brock Lesnar wins on his comeback. A really good win. Brock Lesnar seemed actually quite emotional. He said it was the most fun he'd had in ages. Sable was in the ring, which was really interesting. It was good to see Sable supporting him. No Paul Heyman. I would have liked to have seen Paul Heyman there, but hey, I guess he keeps his appearances for the wrestling and doesn't like cross-pollinating them, which is a good idea, really. I mean, leading on from this now, Brock Lesnar is obviously back to UFC. He's back to winning in UFC, and next month WWE have him main eventing SummerSlam. They have announced that he is going to be fighting Randy Orton. Now, the only way I can see WWE doing this with any sort of common sense is for Brock to pretty much destroy Randy Orton, unfortunately. I mean, if Brock had lost this match against Hunt, or it was a really close win for Brock, they could have maybe put the case in that he could be beat by a wrestler. But the fact is, now that Brock Lesnar has went back to UFC, and he has legitimately beat the ranked 8th heavyweight in the world, he cannot go back to WWE and lose against anyone. Because there's no one in WWE that realistically could take on Brock Lesnar in a fight and win. Even Randy Orton, bless his cotton socks. Randy Orton is a big lad, but unless he comes back looking like Scott Steiner, then I will not believe that he would take Brock in a fight. And that's painful to say it, because Randy's coming back after a long time off, after lots of injury, and his match back's going to be against Brock Lesnar. I don't know if it's his first match back, but he's coming back to fight Brock Lesnar, who is a legitimate fighter and a legitimate monster and getting legitimate wins right now. So I don't know if WWE maybe want to rethink their strategy, and maybe if they will rethink their strategy. I mean, between now and SummerSlam always happens around about my birthday. It's always on either the 22nd or 23rd of August. So they've got like a month and a half until that happens. They've got plenty of time to get themselves booked out of this corner. They could easily have someone take out Randy Orton. They could easily have someone else challenge Brock Lesnar. Heck, they might have Brock Lesnar come out on Raw, challenge Dean Ambrose, he takes the belt, and then it changes everything. This could happen. Things are a bit chaotic in the world of wrestling, especially WWE at the moment. I mean, at times it's a bit crazy, so it will be interesting to see where they go now that Brock Lesnar has won and he's officially came back to the UFC. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Randy Orton match. But that is enough of the wrestling for this week. If you want to hear me talk more about wrestling or any other topics, leave a comment below. This is the first time I've talked about wrestling on Weekly Boom. I am an absolute massive wrestling fan, and I could talk about wrestling for hours. So if people like the wrestling content in with the Dragonball Super stuff and with me having a little rant every week, then hey, I am all for it. Leave me a comment. Subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, that'd be awesome, because then you get notified of whatever happens on the channel, including live streams, which is something I am doing more on the YouTube channel now. I mean, I could go to Twitch, but everyone's on Twitch, so I'm sticking to YouTube. I'm going to try YouTube streams. I've been having a lot of fun with them lately. Later on today or tomorrow, I'm going to be doing one. It's a game called The Temporal Invasion. Now, this game's really cool. It's based around puzzles. You've got to solve cryptic puzzles, what they call riddles, and a lot of the puzzles include like cryptographic stuff. You've got to look at images, change colours in images so you can find things that are hidden in it, find hidden patterns and waveforms, all sorts of really hard stuff, which I've played it once so far. It is really good, but it's really hard. The only I was going to make more videos with this game. The only reason I've not made more videos is I feel that me playing this on stream would be a much better experience for both me, because I'll get help answering the questions, and you guys, because everyone will get to interact and we can all play together and play the game. And we can see what happens, and we can see if we can find out what's happening with this temporal invasion. So subscribe to the channel and you'll see when you'll be able to know when the streams are happening, or of course follow me on Twitter at Stevie's Boom, and you'll know exactly when everything's happening, and you'll be kept up to date with all the daily boom, weekly boom, just boom content. I don't know, boom. That's all I've got to say on that matter. So lastly today, the last bit of business I have today, as you hear me rustle my papers like a news reporter, like the news reporters I'm about to start cutting a promo on. The BBC lately in Britain, my god, they have been... I mean, a lot of people say in Britain there's a lot of panic, there's a lot of despair, there's a lot of uncertainty, and all this sort of stuff that's came along with the Brexit vote, as well as what's happening in the rest of the world. And for the most, from my experience, and from what I have witnessed, the majority of this negativity and stress is coming directly from Anton, aka the BBC, aka the British Broadcasting Corporation. Now, this all started before Brexit. Oh, they were not shy about showing what side they were on. They were obviously on the Remain side. They wanted us to remain, because so did the Westminster elite. They wanted everyone to remain, because bureaucracy rules bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy wanted to make sure we were kept in place with another bigger bureaucracy that we don't barely get a say in. But I'm not talking about that here, because that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about the BBC's coverage of the whole thing. From day one, they were just fear, and they were doing it for both sides. They were quite balanced with the fear, thankfully. Online's a different topic, but on the BBC's news channel, they were fear-mongering for both sides until the moment it was done. The moment the vote was in, they changed. And since the vote came in, I was doing it live. I did a live stream of the vote. It was so funny. By that time, I was pretty drunk. And when the final ballot came in that sealed the deal, they just changed. And since then, they have been absolute scaremongering. They've been just non-stop. Anything they have been able to find that paints Brexit in a bad light, they have been doing. And for the most, I don't understand it, because they're scaremongering. It's like they're using the scaremongering tactics that the Remain side used in their campaign. But they're now using this as part of their daily television. Even though the vote has finished and it has no bearing on it, all it does now is make the country more scared and more worried. And they're causing definite divides, because the BBC are at the forefront of pushing that there's arguments and all this stuff. Let's look at the Conservative Party, for instance. One thing is, with the BBC, I would say Theresa May is probably going to be Prime Minister, because since the second David Cameron said he was resigning, they have been telling us that Theresa May will win. They have told us via every single way they can that Theresa May will win. Now, this is bordering on NLP, like neuralistic programming, which is pretty much like hypnosis, where you're constantly getting told things until you believe that's just what it is, because it's a human response. You get conditioned to it without even realising it. I guess, what was another way for it to be described as? Subconscious learning, or suggestive, the placing suggestive things on TV. And what they've done, like with Theresa May, for instance, this is one of them. They have constantly told us that Theresa May is going to be Prime Minister, that she will do this, she will do that. And now they are going full bore in painting Angela Leadsom in a bad light. And it's been quite obvious to see that they've been doing it, because, yesterday they posted that story that buried her, that really made her look bad by reporting that the Times did something. So that was them basically working with another news source to make Angela Leadsom look bad, so Theresa May can be Prime Minister. All the while, she should never be Prime Minister, because there should be a general election. Because no matter what happens with them two, we're going to have an unelected Prime Minister, which is just wrong. And I digress with the BBC. We move on to the Labour campaign. Since the Brexit vote came in, they have been trying to tell us that Corbyn is no fit man leader. Corbyn shouldn't be running the party. Corbyn needs to stand down. Whilst Corbyn and all the actual members of the Labour Party that are not a member of the Parliamentary Labour Party, that's the MPs, are all behind Corbyn. Yet the BBC has been trying to push this anti-Corbyn message. And I know exactly why. They want that Angela Eagle in. Angela Eagle is a Blairite. She's one of these people that voted for the bedroom tax. She's one of these people that voted for all the bad things. She's one of these people that voted to go to war. She is not representative of the Labour Party. And the BBC have been trying to push the concept on us that Corbyn needs to stand down and that she needs to take his job. And again, it is totally wrong the way they're doing that. It's vile. They're almost trying to control people. It's as if the people that control the BBC and the people above them that control the country, they did not get their way in the referendum vote. The vote totally messed up politics in Britain for the better, because it needed to be done. What it has done, it has totally destroyed the Westminster, Oxbridge, David Cameron and his mates club that have been controlling everything. And ever since that has happened, the BBC, who are controlled by them, have been doing their very best to lead us into a situation that we were in before, where the leader of the Conservatives and the leader of the opposition are really not that different. We had that situation last year. We had David Cameron up against Ed Miliband. I believe they went to the same school. This is the bubble that people need to break. And I think at the moment, just be aware, people. Places like the BBC are trying to tell us how we should be thinking about politics, and the only people that should be telling us about politics is ourselves. And we just need to listen to the message that other people are telling us. Let's stop letting them divide us. Stop letting people get between other people. It's at a time in the world at the minute. It's messed up. People are getting shot in America. More people are getting shot in America. We've got all this stuff happening here. Europe, we don't know what's happening with them. They're getting annoyed. So I think it's best for people just to take a step down. We'll just all take a nice deep breath. Let it all out. And let's all come together and be really cool. Because that's what being a human's all about. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, everyone. This has been my weekly boom. Hopefully it's not too long. As I said, if you've got any feedback on the weekly boom episodes, I would love to hear it, because I want to make these for the people. I would rather speak about things that people want me to speak about, as well as things I want to speak about as well, because obviously it's my podcast. But I want to speak about topics that my subscribers are talking about. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take it easy.